right, we're back here in Santa Cruz, and it's time for another edition of the Sports Junkies. I'm Tommy B, along with BB Ben Baker and David Frias. Dave, how you guys doing today?
Feeling great.
The starting lineup is back intact. We're ready to go. And guys, this is boiling down. We're at the end of the baseball season. It's boiling down to some great pennant races. And Ben, this is exactly what Bud Selig wanted. He added the second wild card this season. We got the race is still alive for the AL Central, where the Tigers are only a game up on the White Sox. The NL wild card, the second spot isn't decided yet. The AL wild card spot isn't decided yet. Looks really good going into the final week of the baseball season.
Yeah, it sure does. I like the new wild card changes. Kind of. I'm not a huge fan of how it's just like, you know, the first wild card team can just get taken right out of there with one bad game.
Right.
But it's nice. Gives another team a chance.
Well, and also it increases, as we've said before, it increases the importance of winning the division. And that's why, you know, teams like, you know, the Giants, the San Francisco Giants, you've already clinched.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to give credit right away. You guys did pick the Giants to win the West this year in our baseball preview. I had them as a wild card team. Good job, you guys.
Thank you, sir.
So the Giants and the Reds, who have both clinched their divisions, already have, you know, they know they don't have to play that one extra game. They can save their best pitcher for the start of the division series.
That's right.
But let's take a look at what we've got going now. We'll look at the division winners, the possible division winners. Let's start with the National League. We've got, as we mentioned, the Giants have won the West. They are currently at 92-65. The Cincinnati Reds have won the Central at 95-62 and tied with the Reds and go as they battle it out for the best record in the National League are the Washington Nationals, who have not clinched the East yet. But it looks like they will in the next few days. They're in a good division race with the Braves, who've already clinched a playoff spot either way. So they'll either be the division champs or the wild card. Same with the Nationals. The Nationals are 95-62. Looking at the possible wild card teams, I mentioned the Atlanta Braves. They're 91-66. As we speak, St. Louis Cardinals headed for that second spot. They are 85-72. The Dodgers still in it, still hanging around at 82-75, and the Milwaukee Brewers are at 80-77. So let's start with the possible wild card teams. Dave, I'll start with you. What do you think is the most dangerous? Looking at these wild card teams, Braves, Cardinals, possibly Dodgers, Brewers. Who do you think is the most dangerous of these teams?
Well, if you look at all these four contenders for the wild card, actually it's really three, because I think Milwaukee's out of it. They're 5 games out already as we speak.
Yeah, they haven't been mathematically eliminated, but they're on the brink.
They got back in it, but now, I mean, pretty much for the whole season they've been out of it. So we just scratched them off the list.
Can you imagine, sidebar, can you imagine, Ben, where they'd be if Ryan Braun had been suspended at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, probably.
Probably had a worse record. So then you look at the three teams, the Atlanta Braves, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Wish they were the ones that were out already by now. Yeah,
right up there.
Giants did that. But I look at the Cardinals. I mean, they still haven't, Atlanta, like you said, they already clinched at least a wild card. St. Louis hasn't yet, so they're still battling.
Right.
And it's kind of eerie to last year, where St. Louis was battling to the end of the season. They got into the postseason, they got hot with great pitching, timely hitting, and they ended up winning the World Series. And I see something very similar, and they're not being talked about a lot, but once they get into the playoffs, anything goes. And in a one-game playoff, if they play the Braves, I think St. Louis is going to feel very confident that just getting that one victory could trigger another World Series run for them. So I would say at this moment the St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, the thing, I agree with you with your pick on the Cardinals, Dave. And the thing is that the Cardinals, they lost Tony La Russa after winning the World Series last year. They lost their pitching coach, Dave Duncan. They lost they lost Albert Pujols. Yeah. So, although some people would argue Tony La Russa might have been a bigger loss, but they lost all three of those guys. That's huge. And they still are in a position to make a playoff run with their new manager, Mike Matheny. Yadier Molina's had a great year. But I think the key that makes the Cardinals really dangerous is they are just getting Chris Carpenter. Chris Carpenter just got back off the DL. Right. So he's fresh. He's ready to go. You team up with Adam Wainwright. That's a big 1-2 punch, especially in a short series. So I think the Cardinals could be very dangerous in the playoffs.
Matt Holliday's having a great year, average-wise and home runs. Carlos Beltran, he's doing pretty well as well. So they got that good mix of veterans being productive at the plate, and then, like you said, the pitching. and it's very eerie to last year. So
well, yeah, and I mean, you look at Chris Carpenter coming back. Don't forget, he was the guy last year that shut out the unbeatable Phillies in the last game. That he shut them out 1-0. He won 1-0 to get the Cardinals to the NLCS, and of course, like you said, they won the World Series. So Carpenter and now Wainwright's back having a good year after missing all of last year. Those two could be lethal together in the postseason.
You know, honestly, I like the Braves. You know, they've got a couple of great pitchers in Tim Hudson and the red-hot Chris Medlin.
He's 9-1.
A great year.
Yep. Yeah. And Craig Kimbrell in the bullpen.
Right.
They're even talking about him as a Cy Young candidate.
Very tough.
You know, and they've obviously had some playoff experience before. And, you know, although I think Carpenter's a great pitcher, it's a dangerous time to bring a pitcher back. And they're not going to, you know, make him their, you know, third or fourth starter who might not even make a start. He's Chris Carpenter, so he's definitely going to get in there.
Number 2 guy, probably.
But it's risky to just throw him back at playoff time. Whereas, I don't know, the Braves are hot right now.
Well, it's not. I mean, he's already been back. It's not like he's just coming back for the playoffs. He's he will, you know, he's gonna make a couple starts at the end of the year. So it's, you know.
We only got 5 games left.
Right, that's true. But he's made a start. He's already been in. I mean, I'm just saying he's
Chipper
gonna be
Jones'
fresh.
final go around too. Who knows how much motivation that's going to be on the team as well. I don't know how much of effect. You remember just 2 years ago, Bobby Cox's last run. Sure. They lost to the Giants. But you know, Chipper Jones, a potential Hall of Fame player, and you know I'm sure the players are going to try extra hard for him.
Their lineup's no slouch either. I mean, Jason Hayward's coming into his prime. Freddie Freeman. Michael Bourne, he's kind of dealing with a thumb injury right now, but I think that's just going to sideline him for another day or two. He's one of the best leadoff hitters in all of baseball. Yep. Martin Prado, a very solid hitter. I think they're going to be the tough one to contend with.
Absolutely. I think either one of these teams should be the most dangerous. And you get, you know, the thing is, you know, with the schedule this year, with them having to squeeze in that wild card game, which basically means if it is the Braves and the Cardinals in the wild card playoff, they're both probably going to use, it would be most likely Medlin versus Wainwright, I would think. And then, you know, so that would mean Hudson would go in game 1 of the division series if the Braves won. So both of them would be using up their best pitcher, but they both got some good, both those teams can be very dangerous.
I actually think they'll probably go with Hudson just because of his experience in big games.
Okay.
But
save Medlin for the division series if they win.
Yeah, I mean
that's the thing.
That really does shake up things. You know, having this 1-game playoff, you want to have your number 1 guy in both those games.
Because here's the thing, I am not a fan of save him for this. You got to get there first.
Yeah,
right.
You never want to have your.
Just save him for that. How do you know you're going to get there?
Well, yeah, but you never want to have your top pitcher going on 3 days rest for the first game, or you know, try to put the 4th or 5th guy in there.
It's an interesting problem. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll have. I mean, both the Cardinals and Braves have great pitching, good pitching staff. So it'll be whoever they'll have there is going to be a good quality start for both of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, of course, the Braves do have a better record than the Cardinals, but once you get to the postseason, all that's out the window.
True.
I mean, first of all, the Braves do playing a tougher division, probably, in the NL East. And but the Cardinals, don't forget, the Cardinals when they won the World Series in 2006, what did they win, 86 games? They won 86 games that year and won the whole thing. So that all of the records get thrown out once you get into the once game 162 is over. But both teams, I think both teams can match up very well in a 1-game playoff. It could be a very fun game, and the team who won would be very hot and full of confidence going in, which makes the winner of that game very dangerous. So it could be a toss-up, really, for who's the most dangerous.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, okay, let's take a look at a surprise, at least a surprise for us when we were making our picks. Back at the beginning of the season, the Washington Nationals. I mean, they've got to be one of the favorites going into the postseason. They lead the league in ERA. They're 4th in offense while playing a very tough, as I mentioned a second ago, very tough division in the NL East. Gio Gonzalez, former Oakland Athletic here in the Bay Area, 21 wins.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. They shut, you know, as of right now, every starter in that rotation has a chance to win at least 10. But they shut down their second-best starter, Stephen Strasburg, who was 15-6 when they shut him down. Do you agree? Now, they shut him down. Let me just preface, they did, you know, he had Tommy John surgery. He missed last year. So this year they came in trying to limit the number of innings he's pitched to save his arm because, you know, they think he's going to be the leader in the rotation for years to come and a big part of the success that they want to have. But they're winning now. They're in the postseason now. Do you agree, Ben, we'll start with you. Do you agree with this decision to shut down Strasburg for the rest of the season, including the postseason?
I'm going to get a little shot in here and say that I did call this early on in the season.
You did. I knew one of us. Was it you that said the Nationals?
Okay. Well, no. I didn't call that. I said that, they might shut down Strasburg early.
Oh, okay.
And I think both you and Alex were saying, no, they're going to make it work so that he's going to get through the season. And, I from the beginning was like, I just don't know about this idea. It makes sense, he's got such a great future ahead of him, it's not worth it in so many regards, but they're in the playoffs now, and what if they get knocked out in the first round? Yeah. It's not gonna look good on them. I don't know. I'm totally torn on the idea. I'll say I don't agree with it. I think they should have dealt with it differently, but I do agree that it's smart for them to be very careful with him.
Right, well, because the thing is, you never know, but the argument for using him is, he's having a great year, he's their second best starter, he's young, but you never know when you're going to make it back. If there's no guarantees that, well, we can shut him down because we're going to win the division again next year. Of course, you want to win the division next year, you plan to win the division next year, but there's no guarantee.
I think, though, this is the beginning of a Nationals dynasty.
Oh, I think it could be.
It looks like it's the beginning of the end of the Phillies' reign. They could still be strong, but they've got a lot of work to do. A lot of their best players are getting older. They're getting injured. And, their top contender is probably going to be the Braves.
Right.
And the Braves are really good, but the Nationals, Bryce Harper, Stephen Strasburg, Jason Worth, Michael Morse. There's a lot of great hitters on that team, some great pitchers. I think they've got.
And Michael Morse spent a lot of the year on the DL, but he came back. He's having a good year.
I think they look like the strongest team in the National League East for next year already. And probably for a while.
Are you making your should we just skip ahead to next year's baseball preview?
You never know what will happen in the offseason, but
a little too soon.
I think that they can assume that it's safe to be careful with Strasburg because they should be good for a while, unless let's say Harper goes down with a career-ending injury, or something to that effect, or Gio. Yeah, geez, let's not forget about Gio. I don't know. It's a tough call.
It is. Dave, do you think this will, not having Strasburg will hurt the Nationals in the postseason?
I think it will. But I think it will probably be, like I said, it's a risk that the Nationals are taking, whether they would have kept them on the roster or not, because if you keep him on the postseason roster, you're going to risk him possibly injuring the shoulder. Right. He's still in his early 20s, so do you want him to rest and then make him come back stronger next year? And where he could probably be a Cy Young Award candidate, or do you have him on the roster and go for it now? It's kind of like it's a tricky balance, but it's going to hurt him. I think in the end it will hurt him because you're going to rely more on Gio. Like I said, Gio has 21 wins. He's doing great, but the postseason is the postseason. Then you have Edwin Jackson.
9 wins.
Yeah, 9 wins. He's a veteran. It's going to be a drop-off regardless. Zimmerman's pitching great, I believe, for them.
Yeah.
But
Zimmerman.
Yeah, and Ryan Zimmerman.
Right?
Hitting great.
Related or not, but
it's a strong team.
But I think. But I like Davey Johnson, the manager. His responses to it, he's been firm, and they've been very strong about the fact they were saying this even a month before they were going to shut Strasburg down. We're not going to extend him.
He had a bad start. They shut him down early.
So they went according to plan, and you got to respect the Nationals manager.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that's the plan for the Nationals. They're not planning. You know how sometimes you don't expect to win, and suddenly you're having a great year, and you think maybe it's a one-year thing. The Nationals are not planning on this being a one-year deal. They are playing, like you said, Ben, they are planning on this being a dynasty. Yeah. They are ready to go. And to be honest, the fans of the Nationals/Expos franchise, it's been a long time coming.
It's been since the Andres Galarraga days.
1994.
Larry
they had
Walker.
The best record in baseball at the time of the
Good
strike.
knowledge, ladies and gentlemen.
1994. Okay, we're going to play a new game here.
Thomas is all geared up for trivia.
Now, this isn't trivia. I am geared up for trivia.
I'm saying we are going to have a trivia show sometime, I'm saying by the end of the year.
I think so, yes.
And those of you viewers not familiar with the old radio show, Thomas is pretty good at trivia. I can hold my own a little bit. Dave can hold his own a little bit.
But I'm the trivia champion.
Alex is also very good.
I won the belt from him, if you remember.
I think we saw the trivia belt make its TV debut not too long ago. Yeah. All right, let's not get too far off track.
But anyway,
Back to baseball playoff preview.
No, we're going to play a new game. It's called Strengths and Weaknesses, okay? So we're going to look at the division winners. We talked about the wild cards. We're talking about the division winners now and say what we think will help and hurt them in the playoffs? Okay, so we're going to do one. All right, so let's start with Dave. Dave, we just talked about the Nationals, their strengths and their weaknesses. Go ahead.
You know, their obvious strength is their talent. You know, Bryce Harper, he's having a good year for a rookie. You mentioned Morse, Michael Morse. The infield, they have great infielders, you know, Espinosa and Desmond.
Yeah, they're up the middle.
It's still hard to tell if they're overachieving or that's their full potential right now. But they have great young, talented, you know, players, and then the pitching as well. What's probably going to hurt them is their inexperience still heading into the postseason. You know, their bullpen, I don't know how strong it is. You know, there could be a problem there, and probably in the bench. The bench players. I don't think they have much depth in their bench, and this is a team that's going to rely solely on their talented young players. And overall, you know, this team kind of reminds me of the Florida Marlins back in '03. You know, a lot of young, great pitching, position players, and they went all the way and won the World Series.
Beat the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, with their great talent. The question is, can this national team have the talent just based on young, great talent? Carry them far in the postseason. So that's a question mark right there. You know, regular season, and they've proven that, you know, like they've pretty much dethroned the Phillies as far as the reign in the NL East. But, you know, in the postseason, how they adjust to the pressure of it, you know, that's going to be an interesting question.
Well, and going back to Strasburg, that's the big pitching is what wins in the postseason. So we'll see if that's, you know, without Strasburg, if that's a weakness.
And they have a good manager to lead them, though, Davey Johnson. What a better manager to have, you know, he's won it with the Mets.
86.
He's always had playoff teams in contention. You know, he took a break for several years. He coached a USA team, I believe, in the World Baseball Classic 4 years ago. So he's the right man to guide these young flock of talent, you know, and it'll be exciting to see what they do in the postseason.
All right. Well, now I should preface this by saying we're assuming the Nationals are going to win the East. They have not clinched.
I think they will.
But it's likely that they will be the Eastern Division champs. Let's go to the National League Central, and for the Cincinnati Reds, talk about good managers, managed by Bay Area favorite and former Giant manager Dusty Baker. The Cincinnati Reds, Ben?
Dusty with the great last name that I happen to hold myself, Dusty Baker. Good to have you
no
still.
No relation, distant relation? What do you think?
You know, he might be a distant cousin.
Okay.
Let's see. The Reds, the big strength they have, especially for a playoff roster, is going to be their bullpen. Now, so much I think is going to rely on Aroldis Chapman. And they've got an issue right now where they've been going back and forth because they just picked up Jonathan Broxton. Are they going to have Broxton be their closer in the playoffs, or are they going to go back to Chapman? Chapman having one of the best years by any closer in recent memory this year. I think he's got like 120 strikeouts over, I don't know, 70 innings or something. It's incredible. But, you know, his fastball started to lose velocity, and they said he was going from, this is a guy who
36 saves for Chapman.
36 saves. But, you know, it's really, you know, all the strikeouts and the lockdown stuff. He'd probably be over 40 if they hadn't started to try out some other guys, because he was throwing 102 miles an hour, and then recently as low as 93 as his top speed in an appearance. So I think everybody's wondering what's up with him. And, you know, I think it's going to be a big, big deal in the postseason. You always see bullpens. You know, it's the most pressure they face all year, obviously. And it's often really tight games, pressure situations. Can they handle it? And Chapman's a young guy. He hasn't been in a lot of these situations yet. So we're going to have to see how that goes. They also have great power hitting: Jay Bruce, Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips, and more.
Scott Rowland,
although, you know, he's sort of on the tail end of his career.
He's a big veteran presence at third base.
Yeah. And that's going to be valuable for the playoff time. Another thing to remember about the Reds is that they play in a hitter's park. Right. So maybe these numbers seem inflated a little. I think they'd still be probably pretty good any park they played in. Guys like Bruce and Votto are just, you know, top-notch power hitters.
And, you know, that was a big worry. I remember mentioning it as a possibility during our preview show. Matt Latos going to Cincinnati, you know, going from Petco Park, which is like even more of a pitcher's park than AT&T, to the hitters, the bandbox that is Great American Ballpark. He's had a good year.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. If they play the Giants in the first round, Latos kills at AT&T Park.
And it's also all the more amazing the year that Johnny Cueto's had.
Absolutely.
So you're talking about a pretty solid team. I would say definitely the bullpen being a strength and the power hitting.
This team, the Reds, they're more seasoned compared to the Nationals. If they get it together and they play up to their full potential and they withstand the pressure, this team definitely have World Series title potential.
Written all over.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, the team I'm going to talk about the strength and weaknesses is our very own San Francisco Giants. And, wow.
How fitting.
I think one of the Giants' big strengths is something that gets overlooked a lot, and that's Bruce Bochy.
Sure.
Manager Bruce Bochy. I mean, this is a guy, he proved it
in the press, away from the Giants country, which is here in the Bay Area.
Right.
For some reason, people still don't give the credit. I think.
Right. I think their strength is the pitching staff, obviously, but the coaching staff and Bruce Bochy, because this is a guy we saw it in 2010. We saw it down the stretch this year, after especially after Melky Cabrera got suspended. The way he used his players, the way he used the bullpen. Giants, after August 15th, when Cabrera was suspended, just took over the NL West. They just took it over completely. The pitching, the bullpen, he makes the right moves. It seems like, sometimes you're watching a Giants game, can we go through a game without using 7 pitchers? But he gets it, they get it done. Bochy knows how to use them.
It's almost like they played better after the Dodgers went out and got all those guys.
They did, yeah. Well, that and the Dodgers fell off a little, but the Giants did play. Yeah, the Giants definitely stepped it up. And I think Bochy, I mentioned the coaching staff. Look at 2010. Who saved that Philly series? Mark Gardner. Why? Because when they had that brawl, right, and he knew Sanchez was coming out of the game, Atfeld wanted to run out there and join the fray, and Gardner said, no, stay here, warm up.
Yeah.
We need you. We're going to need you. He got out of that inning. Giants won that game by 1 run and clinched the pennant. So, I think the coaching staff, and, because the pitching isn't quite as good as it was in 2010. It's still good, but it's not as good as it was. And so I think for the Giants to be in this position, I think the strength is definitely the coaching staff. On the field, I think you'd have to say they're definitely getting more clutch. The hitting with running and scoring position was an absolute embarrassment early in the year. Now they're stepping up guys like Marco Scutaro, Buster, of course, possible MVP. Mm-hmm. Pablo Sandoval has even gotten hot lately. So I think their strengths is the coaching staff. Their weakness could be you mentioned the importance of the bullpen. They don't have Brian Russell this year. It is closer by committee. So their weakness could also come from their strength, because Bruce Bochy is going to have to mix and match to close out those close games that the Giants are going to be in the postseason without the solid, we know it, we're going to Wilson in the 9th. That's it.
But
that's the one thing we do not have that we had in 2010.
Those guys have been really solid, though.
They have.
The bullpen committee has been working, and for most teams it doesn't work
scary,
so well.
But
yeah, but Affeld's not their guy. It's been Romo, it's been Lopez, and a little bit of Casilla in there.
Sorry, Dave. The weakness I'm going to say is the lack of a closer and left field. We don't know what we're going to get out of Blanco and Nady. First half of the season, they had Cabrera. That was it.
Yeah.
And then he got suspended, and that was that. Okay, we got to.
Just quickly, I said earlier about the Cardinals being similar. I think the Giants too in 2010, because there's no superstar player, just a bunch of players that come together as a team, and the question marks that Tom was just briefly saying with the left field, doesn't that remind you of a certain player like Cody Ross in 2010? No one knew who was going to come through in the postseason.
He played right though.
And yet someone
did.
He
played in the outfield.
It might just be
a surprise. It could be Xavier Nady. It could be Hunter Pence. I know he's more of a superstar player, but those two guys, all it takes is just one of them to get hot.
Maybe it'll be like Dave Roberts in 2004 for the Red Sox. Blanco will steal a key base, and that'll be it. Yeah. Hey, real quick, NL pennant predictions.
Well, Giants. No doubt. I mean, it's my team, and look, they're hot. That's what you need in the playoffs. They've got great pitching.
I picked them at the beginning of the season as my pennant pick.
And you're picking them again now.
I see no reason to change it right now. I think they will be challenged in the postseason. The Nationals and Reds and the Braves have to play very good teams.
Yeah.
I think the Giants, with the way Bruce Bochy mix and matches, especially in the bullpen, have a great shot to come out on top of the National League. So I'm going to stick with my pick and go for the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to go with the Giants again. I'm going to trust that they're going to, come through under pressure and the great managing by Bruce Bochy. But if it's not the Giants, I'm going to say the Cardinals.
What do you mean not the Giants?
I have to go with the alternative pick.
Do we do qualifying picks?
I got to go with the alternative pick.
Okay.
Because
I like the negativity there.
We're here in the Bay Area. our viewers here, it's obviously they already know ahead of time we're all going to go for the Giants. But if it's not the Giants, I will say St. Louis.
Dave Freese going with Dave Freese and his
How about
boy.
you guys? Quick, briefly. If it ain't the Giants, who then?
I kind of like
Who
the Nationals.
cares if it ain't the Giants? I'm just kidding.
I kind of like the Nationals, but the Reds too. I don't know.
I like Reds or Cardinals. Reds or Cardinals. Yeah. Really quick, we spent all our time in the National League. Quickly, the American League. Let's do this. Yep. We got to really quickly do this. All American League, the Central Division is by one game. It's not decided yet. Tigers lead by a game. Both the Tigers and the White Sox play later tonight as we're in the final weekend of the regular season as we're taping this. We have 2 minutes to go, guys. Yankees are 91-66 leading the East. Tigers 84-73 leading the Central. Rangers, big shock, 92-65 leading the West. Possible wild card teams: A's and Orioles. AL pennant predictions. We don't have time. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go over all this like we did the National League. So let's just quickly AL pennant predictions. We'll start with Dave.
I'm sticking with.
Do a curveball there.
Sticking with the Tigers still. I still think if they get in the postseason.
If they get in?
Yeah.
I like the Tigers too. Verlander in the hitting.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Rangers. I think the Rangers have the best all-around team in the American League. We didn't talk about it much during the preview, but I think they have the best all-around team in the American League. Tigers have Verlander and then some guys. The Rangers have a solid staff. Washington and Mike Maddox do a great job mixing matches. They got the best offense. They're the team to beat. They're the two-time defending AL champions. They're back in the playoffs. They're still the best team in the American League. Until someone knocks them off,
but of course,
I say the Rangers.
We can't count out the Yankees. They're hot right now.
Absolutely not.
You can't count out the local A's.
No.
I mean, Bay Bridge series could really go down again this year.
We have less than a minute. Alternative picks. Thank you, Dave. If the Tigers don't win.
I'll go with the Rangers.
I want the Orioles to go.
Yeah,
You know what?
One playoff appearance.
Orange and black.
I'm going to have some fun
One
with this.
division pennant since
I'm
'83.
going to have fun with this. Let's go, Oakland. If they get hot, this team, we'll see. If Reddick and Cespedes start hitting again. All right.
Does everybody know how to do the Bernie?
No, we don't have time, but that's good. Hey, that is our Sports Junkie baseball preview. Hey, it's going to be a fun postseason, guys. I can't wait to watch this. Great pennant races to the final week, and then the postseason. It's going to be fun.
Teams in the playoffs.
Sit back, enjoy it, watch it. We'll be talking about it here on the Sports Junkies. Tommy B, Ben Baker, David Free for Alex. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Move it like Bernie.
That's a good comeback right there.
All right.
Considering